All right, so this meeting is being recorded for our public records and will be posted on the Arlington County Commission meetings YouTube page. Avoid sharing any personal information that you would not like to be made public. And please, as a friendly reminder, please state your name before you speak and speak slowly so everyone can hear. Thank you.
Yay.
This is Karen O'Don. Courtney, thank you for calling the meeting to order. So we do not have public comment. So I would like to move to the minutes. And I do have some comments, but I'll wait for anyone else that has comments on those minutes.
While we're waiting, Andrew, are you able to turn on your camera?
Yeah, 1 second.
Oh, thank you, no rush.
Let's see.
There you go.
All right. I'm still learning how to use Microsoft Teams with an AAC, so give me about a million years to do AAC communications and also figure out Microsoft Teams.
Justin, can I go ahead or would you like us to wait? Okay. So Courtney, it is this section on the first page under the commission discussion about the proposed taxi cab fare increase. And there's a comment at the bottom of the page. There are currently 29 authorized wheelchair accessible vehicles. I cannot recall, Bryant, you might remember, were they registered vehicles in Arlington or in the larger service area?
I believe they were in the larger service area, so
because that's important.
The provider service area.
Yes, so I would like to propose that change, that there are currently 29 authorized wheelchair accessible vehicles in the service provider area.
I second that amendment.
I'm not done.
Oh.
And I'd like to add a sentence that not all are available at the same time.
Second that one as well.
Thank you. So Courtney, did you get that? Courtney, you're on mute. I just want to make sure
she's
that
on
you were. I want to make sure.
I'm sorry. Yes, I'm sorry. I said yes, I did. I didn't realize I was on mute. Sorry.
Excellent. The next page under remarks, County Board Liaison J.D. Spain. He also referenced the construction code update.
Right.
And Marilyn, what was your recollection?
I think unless you can go back and listen to the recording, he named, I think what he did was he said he thought that either that somebody else, I think he named, did he name Hope? Was that who he named? He named somebody that you'd have to check the transcript or something as to who he named as that he thought should see it to be involved in it. And I can't remember. I was looking for it and I didn't remember. And then I think you and I, Karen, had a separate conversation about, or let's see, in the meeting, we had a separate conversation about whether it should be Barbara Favola, Hope, or somebody else. Actually, I think that J.D. Spain said some other name that I don't remember what it was.
I have Delegate Hope and McClure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Down here.
That's who it was, McClure.
Yes.
Yeah. That's
so
the one I forgot.
What we talked about with him is we talked about inviting delegates McClure and Hope to an upcoming meeting to share the videos and share our concerns. So
Correct.
that I'd like to have that included.
So you want me to
Agreed.
remove this from here and move it up there then?
I think you can
And
just
just
add it. I think you can add it to the remarks.
Okay.
Where it says board member JD Spain recommended, I would say inviting delegates McClure and Hope and code enforcement officials to an upcoming DAC meeting. Okay, is there a motion to adopt that?
I move that we adopt it as recommended.
And a second?
Second.
Okay, good. If we can go, Courtney, to the chair's report. The number one, Chair Karen attended the county board proclamation. It was actually Chair Karen and Commissioner Laura. So if we could have a motion to add that.
So moved.
Yeah.
Okay, and second?
Second.
Okay. And then Courtney, at the end of the document, we also did have a discussion on grants. And I'm just gonna read what I recall from my notes. That Courtney provided clarification on the grants review process, period. Karen shared a rating matrix, period. And then Karen asked commissioners to submit rating sheets to Courtney and Karen in December. So is there a motion to accept those changes?
So moved.
Okay, and second? I think someone said they're seconded. Okay. Any other comments or additions, deletions to the minutes? Okay, so is there a motion to accept the minutes, approve the minutes as amended?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Excellent, thank you. Great job. Courtney, if somebody's got something loud in the back. If you can mute yourself unless you're speaking, please. Courtney, over to you. And what do you have for a liaison report for us?
I don't have a liaison report for this month. Thank you.
Okay, so boy, this might be a quick meeting. I'm going to go to my report, and I just want to thank Courtney and everyone who was able to speak or contact everyone, and it is really, really helpful. So I very much appreciate, your time and your feedback and your good ideas. And tonight we'll be talking about some of the feedback that you provided, especially on our draft work plan. So I really appreciate that. Bryant and I met with the legislative working group, and Bryant, do you want to mention that? The Commission on Aging legislative group.
Yes. We met with that working group, and they provided a overview of a very strong regional working group that they have. Was quite impressed. They have an annual breakfast every year, and I know that is on our wish list for the future. Once we get to a stronger point to collaborate with other organizations, so it's good to see that there's a model we can work towards. But yeah, we discussed on areas where we can work together, particularly in group homes and assisted living facilities. And I don't have a copy of their legislative agenda on hand, but there was some alignment between our organizations.
And I can share that. I can share that as a follow-up because I do have that. And thank you, Bryant. I was really impressed with the regional coordination, and I'm really open to suggestions from Courtney and from all of you commissioners on groups with whom we can collaborate and learn from. Because the legislative agenda that they put forward wasn't just Arlington County Commission on Aging, it was this larger regional group. And so it was really quite impressive. So I think it's something to think about. Go ahead, Justin.
Is it okay if I can add a group that we could potentially work with?
Yes.
ARC of Northern Virginia, they do a lot of legislation down in Richmond.
Yep.
And I'm actually looking at going down with Lucy Beadnell sometime next month to help out. So total have to consider working with the ARC. They don't.
I think that's a great idea, and it sort of segues into the next topic that I discussed. When I met with Laura, we talked about ECNV's Independent Living Legislative Day in Richmond that is scheduled for January 28th. So I'd like to, it's a Wednesday, I'd like to encourage anybody who's able to attend that. And Laura, did you want to add anything else about that?
Yeah. I found out very recently doing this work that basically a lot of disability groups just kind of have their own advocacy day. So I think the ARC is going down to Richmond a week before us, and we're doing our advocacy day because that's our Center for Independent Living Day, which I kind of think is a missed opportunity because these legislators don't have that many session days. But anyway, so ECNV has a couple of priorities that I created because I started tracking some bills that's been pre-filed in this session. So I'll just go over some of them. There's a couple that has to do with sort of juvenile justice, and one that looks at moving juvenile justice under Health and Human Resources. So kind of more of a service-oriented approach as opposed to criminal. Another one that's kind of giving more, I guess, funding to schools to increase like nursing staffing and advanced nurse practitioners for students that need sort of behavioral or mental health needs in school. So we are supporting some of those bills that's been pre-filed. SB 34, which is the voting rights bill for those under guardianship, which I think this committee has tracked in the past. And that passed last session, so I think it just needs to pass one more time for it to be a constitutional amendment. And then I think some bills related to affordable and accessible housing. I don't think a lot has been pre-filed yet. And then what's the last one that we are supporting is investment in police diversion and crisis response. So which nothing has been pre-filed yet, but we are supporting that. And then lastly, as best as we can, protecting our disabled immigrant population, and that includes undocumented residents, and you know, to the extent that's possible, that they have access to community-based services. So yeah, just some of the things. And this past Saturday, I was at a pre-legislative town hall for Loudoun and Fairfax. As part of my work, I don't live in Loudoun and Fairfax, but we have staff and consumers that we serve that live there. And that was actually hosted by the National Federation of the Blind chapters of Loudoun and Fairfax. And ECNV got to be a partner because we helped promote the event. And they had also partnered with the Loudoun disability. I guess it's our sort of equivalent, although nobody was identified specifically as being from them, but they did say that they were partners as well. So I don't know, maybe. So, I mean, ECNV was excited because I don't think we've worked with NFB in the past. And, you know, we are, as a Center for Independent Living, very much supportive of cross-disability work. So, yeah, I mean, I think Justin's point about the ARC is wonderful. I'm behind that. And yeah, the more of us we can get together, the better. That's my opinion.
That is really helpful. And we always do our next steps and do outs at the end of the meeting, but I'm going to ask Laura and Justin if you have agendas or any briefing information that you can share. If you can share it with Courtney, and Courtney and I will coordinate so we don't have a million emails. But if you can share that with Courtney, and then I in turn will share the Commission on Aging, that regional group's legislative agenda, because I think it's really important. Did anybody else have any other suggestions around the legislative arena?
Just as an aside, this is Marilyn, is I like the idea of where we can start understanding what other counties are doing. And I think people are doing that. And I'm starting to hear that here from various commissioners. And I think that's a really good idea. We need to bridge, you know, take the best of, and we can get the best of back as opportunities. I think going to Richmond helps that too, what we can hear.
And this is Karen again. This leads me to, I am in the process of setting up a Google Drive for us. I think I've reached out to everybody and made sure you had a Gmail address. So my intention is to set it up for the January meeting. So what I would suggest is we would stage up a folder around legislative briefs and legislative background, or however we choose to call it. But I think for now, if Justin and Laura and anybody else, if you have pieces to send them to Courtney, and then I'll figure that piece out, because I just started it. It's not built out yet. And Courtney, do you want to give a little update? Because you and I went back and forth to get guidance on how we can use that Google Drive. I know we can't have more than 2 commissioners at once editing a document. Is there anything else you want to share?
No, that's it. That was the main thing, that make sure that 2 or more are not in the document at the same time, because that would constitute as a public meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
So any other questions, thoughts around a Google Drive?
Kind of tangent to that. This is Andrew. I was wondering if we would perhaps maybe piece together some primary talking points or an agenda for our Richmond Day.
Absolutely. Are you offering?
Offering to help.
Brian and Justin might have some input.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it'll just depend when we head down for our legislative day, of course, with because once we get the crossover, it's just focusing on the bills on each side of the house. And we'll hopefully know a lot more from a budget standpoint. I don't think the outgoing administration has presented the revenue outlook for next year. But of course, we know it's going to be a tight year for us.
But we haven't been hearing much from the current administration. They've been pretty quiet about the end or the closing out of their administration currently.
Which is not actually surprising.
Yeah, it's not uncommon.
So, great idea, Andrew. We're going to chat in a few minutes about that work plan, and hopefully folks will step up and say, I'll be the lead, or will be the leads for this part of it. So one of it is our legislative agenda. So thanks for referencing it. This was my error. I thought I had reached out to Carol to request the meetings with delegates McClure and Hope, and lo and behold, I drafted the email and didn't send it. So I apologize, and I will take care of it because I'm going to ask if they can attend in January, and they can certainly attend virtually if they agree to attend. So I'll go ahead and do that. I have to coordinate it through Carol, so I'll take care of it.
When is our January meeting?
Well, we're going to talk about it because I'm recommending we move it up a week because of the federal holiday.
There's a hand up. Marilyn has a hand up.
We'll talk about the proposed schedule for 2016 a little bit further along in this meeting because we've got holidays. Marilyn, go ahead.
Yeah, I think the only thing I'd strongly recommend, and I know that it didn't happen with JD, and I'm not blaming Carol. I just, and I know how busy JD is and how busy McClure would be, any of them. If there's any way possible that we can get them the briefing ahead of time before the meeting, because they need to have the context. I mean, instead of just showing one, I was giving like 2 minutes of a background and then we show one video. I think they need the whole picture if we could do that and really encourage them to have read that before the meeting. That would be my recommendation.
I would agree.
Okay.
Anyone else has input on having delegates McClure and Hope attend our meeting?
Just timing of when they're on.
Yes.
A lot of these delegates have back-to-back meetings. Last year it was a nightmare getting. Actually, in the past few years of working with them, it's been a nightmare. Even for Delegate Hope, who's very responsive, it can get very busy. So no surprise, and in all likelihood, they'll most likely run late, just because of the back-to-back meetings they have.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. So I'll reach out to Carol tomorrow since I have drafted an email, and ask about that, and hopefully we'll agree on the date tonight for our January meeting. I think somebody else was trying to speak.
This is Laura. I think I wasn't trying to speak, but I just realized I am extending the invitation to join ECNB if any of you are interested in coming with us to our Independent Living Lobby Day, which is, I think Karen said, the Wednesday, January 28th. And you're welcome to ride with us. We're chartering a bus. So I think that's within my purview to offer that. But anyway, there should be enough seats for everybody if you want if you would
Yeah,
like
I
to see.
appreciate it, and I probably will attend. I had already put it on my calendar. It's all day, right?
We'll probably head down around, I would say 8 maybe, and then there's kind of a lunch near Richmond or in Richmond with all of the Centers for Independent Living, and everybody gets ramped up, and then the plan is to hold our meetings sort of in the afternoon. So actually this week I'm going to reach out to offices and see, I don't know if it's too early for them, but try to schedule these meetings for next month.
Hey, Lauren, a quick question.
Yes.
Will it be wheelchair accessible heading down?
We are looking at wheelchair accessible buses. As you know, Justin, I'm sure those seats are limited with how many wheelchairs we can fit. But we are looking at, I mean, yes, we'll be booking buses that are wheelchair accessible.
Count me in. What day is it again? Sorry,
Wednesday? The last, no, you're fine. It's the last Wednesday in January, the 28th.
All right, I'll be there.
Awesome.
Excellent. Thank you, Laura. I appreciate it. At least it'll be me and Justin, because I know it's a weekday. So excellent. I think, the last item that I had, when JD attended our meeting, we talked about our support for an accessibility ADA senior liaison to step into a coordinator liaison role, focusing on transportation and pedestrian safety and housing and some other issues. And a number of us have begun to draft a position description and a justification. I have a meeting with JD on January 7th, and Brian is going to attend this meeting with me. And we have an opportunity to present to him the justification and the position description. As we all know, Courtney is our fully tasked ADA coordinator for the county. So this position is not Courtney's position. It is a different position that steps more robustly into planning and intersection and interaction and liaison work with a number of groups. And Courtney and I are going to be speaking later this week and take a look at a very initial draft before I circulate it to everybody to make sure that I've really captured duties and responsibilities that are beyond the federally mandated ADA coordinator position. So I'll put that up on the Google Drive when it gets built out. I know that Andrew had given some basic comments when Andrew and I had chatted, but I haven't shared it more widely because Courtney and I need to talk. So I just wanted you all to know, because JD was very interested and asked us for our justification and position description. And also many thanks to Laura, and Andrew, who've done some really great research just looking at other position descriptions. The description for this work just varies hugely across our region and across the country. So it's really, really enlightening. So I'll just keep everybody posted on that. I think that's all I have from my report. And I wanted to move to our draft work plan. I am hopeful that we can make some minor tweaks to it tonight, and then have a motion and a vote to approve it, because it will be our work plan only through the end of June. So it'll be for 6 months. Courtney, can you go ahead and share that on the screen? And you might need to make that bigger. So please, everybody, let Courtney know if that's got to be made larger. It's pretty small. Okay.
That's good.
Yeah, that is better. Thank you. Okay, so I did speak or contact everybody to ask for your feedback on this document, and I have made my best attempts to incorporate your feedback. I used track changes, and I'm just going to try to go through the sections quickly, but I'll stop with each section. So there's 5 goals. So I was going to go goal by goal. So if Courtney, if you want to hold on right here and see if there's any additional feedback. I took the charter and the mission statement directly from the current charter, which I know we've talked about updating, but this is what we have currently. And then I talked about us increasing our capacity to advocate, assist, and advise. So I didn't receive additional feedback from commissioners on that. So unless there's an objection and somebody raises their hand or shouts out, I object, I'm going to keep going. Okay, Courtney, do you want to go to the first goal, please? Okay, yeah, let's leave it. So our first goal, and Courtney, there should have been track changes on that.
Yeah, I can't see them.
So
I can see, I printed it out, yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely, let me see if I can pull up my version on another screen so I can talk everybody through them, because I tried to put a note where any of you gave me any feedback. All right, give me 1 second, because I have a lot of windows open. Just bear with me, because I created 2 documents with the track changes. Okay, so when we get to the first goal is expand community engagement and outreach. And our objective 1.1 is to increase public engagement and community participation in DAC. And Andrew and Justin both had some very good ideas on what we could do in that realm. And Justin, do you want to share a little bit about you had some thoughts, Justin, about recognizing Disability Awareness Month. If you wanted to say something about that.
Yeah, I think in general, in general, we should be recognizing all disability awareness months, because this is a good way for us to connect with those communities of people. We also have a huge population of people with rare conditions that are not recognized, that are in our city of Arlington. So when it comes down to it, it's critically important for us to recognize those conditions and really go about celebrating their individual awareness months, or to the very least make a post about them so people understand these conditions. For instance, we celebrated Suicide Awareness Month, which was back in September, which we can all agree needs to happen. But we also overlooked MDA Awareness Month, which is Muscular Dystrophy Awareness Month. On top of that, a lot of people still celebrate Autism Awareness Month, which nearly every autistic self-advocate agrees that we should be switching to Autism Acceptance Month. So I think when we make those steps forward, we make ourselves really well known to every disability group in Arlington, and show them that we are there to support them no matter what. Even as a disability commission, we are there to serve them. Karen?
Thank you, Justin. Yes. So I have spoken to Andrew and Justin, and I don't think they object to working together on this objective. So consider yourself the leads on this one.
Yay!
Courtney, can you scroll down just a little bit to 1.2? Okay, so 1.2 is to build collaborative engagement with other commissions. And we're definitely, Elizabeth and I have been attending meetings with the Commission on Aging Transportation Committee for the community engagement event on March 16th. And of course, Bryant has also been involved in the legislative arena with that committee. And I think I referenced it further down, but Elizabeth has agreed to be our lead for this event, which is a single event. If we are able to co-sponsor, co-lead another event by June, I think it's great, but we do know that this event is out there March 16th. And of course, any other commissioner, you are absolutely welcome to participate. If you are interested in attending the planning meetings for that event, let me know, because we can only have 2 commissioners at a time attend that meeting. And I'll just step down and let somebody else attend it. So please let me know if you're also interested in doing it. Okay. Any comments on 1.2? Okay, Courtney, can you scroll down just a little bit for 1.3? Thank you. I know that we're talking about approving our work plan for fiscal year 26, and we actually have an objective to get ready for the subsequent plans. It's really important that while we're being pretty tactical in the next 6 months, that we're much more strategic, trying to look forward for at least 2 fiscal years ahead. And I would like to put out there that we have this extended planning session actually in March, because we have a need to put that together, meet with JD and talk about it, garner his support, and then be able to publish it by July 1st. And I don't, Courtney, did I put a lead for that? I put me in the governance working group, which is Bryant. So Bryant, unless you object, you're involved in this.
No objections on my part. I'm sure there's some crossover we can do for the special education committee that I sit on. Actually, one that I'll talk more about in my report is I'm doing an ADA audit of public facilities.
Oh man, that's very interesting. If you want to reach out to me separately, my husband did that for Arlington County many years ago as an architect for the public schools.
Oh yeah, we would actually. I would
many years ago. But just reach out to me. I can't volunteer him for something. He's retiring December 31st. He will not be very happy. So.
Darn, I was going to pick his brain over TJ Middle School because that.
You know what? He probably will say yes, but I never can speak for him. So reach out to me separately and make that request, please.
Will do.
Okay. All right. Courtney, can you scroll down to 1.4? So 1.4 is expand our legislative advocacy and collaboration. Very, very general, to identify our priorities, meet with our legislators and our coalitions, and make sure that what we're doing, that we are aligned with state and county policy priorities as well as DAC priorities. I have listed Bryant and Laura as the leads. I don't know if you have any objections. So Laura and Bryant, do you have thoughts around that?
None initially, because I am waiting to see how the session goes, particularly with the incoming administration making their appointments to the secretary positions that impact our communities, along with seeing how this legislative session goes. From what I'm hearing, this year it's going to be a catch up over the past 4 years, since many priorities of the majority in the General Assembly were not approved by Governor Youngkin, and they are eager to get them pushed through with, of course, the more favorable administration to them. So I think in looking to the next session, we'll see how much they get through their backlog of bills, and then of course seeing what the county budget picture will look like. From conversations I've had with county board members, it is looking better than they expected, but still extremely difficult budget wise. So hopefully more for us to know as we get closer to Q2 and Q3.
Yeah, I absolutely understood. And I have listed Brian and Laura because technically you two can be a working group, and if the two of you meet, it obviously doesn't trigger a public meeting. Now, we will, I will be soliciting input from everybody, but if we expand this to a larger working group, then we will have to be very thoughtful in terms of meetings, because we will have to publicize the meetings 48 hours ahead of time and work with Courtney to make sure that those meetings are accessible and available in a hybrid format. So I don't want to give the impression that I'm suggesting that others do not work on these important issues. But it's to be able to move pretty agilely. I'm looking at, working groups on some of these goals and objectives that can be a little bit more agile because they're two people. So my thought is to go ahead and see if we could vote on this by section, by goal. So if there is no objection, is there a motion to approve goal 1 and then the objectives under goal 1?
I move to adopt goal 1 and all subsequent work items as presented.
And a second?
Second.
Excellent, thank you. I'm so happy, Brian. You always do the right thing, always. All right, Courtney, can you scroll down to goal 2, which is to advocate for accessible and universal design multi-dwelling housing units? Thank you. So objective, I think it's Justin, I think if you can mute yourself, there's some back, I think it might be you, there's some back noise. Objective 2.1 is to advocate for state construction code updates to expand accessibility standards. That is a huge priority for us. Marilyn, I've listed you as the lead.
Sure.
And I didn't know if anybody was interested in working with Maryland. You don't have to decide today. So if you feel so moved, that is something you can come forward with. And I know, Marilyn, you've spoken a few times and recommended that within this process, we make sure we have user testing and acceptance in terms of some of these specific objectives. And I do agree. I just don't know that it's the place to put it in the work plan. But I do want to count on you to keep us honest and remind us, that we said we would do that.
Yeah, and I do think, just one other point on that, and I think we mentioned that before, or I did, was that that applies to everything from the process when we do site reviews. Right now it's not in the process for the policy for any organization that comes to us to have user testing, user acceptance. So that's an overarching gap, in my opinion. I will be focusing just on this one, the 2.1, relative to that, because I think we already kind of proved the front part of that. The back part of that was we had no user acceptance for the buildings that you saw in the presentation from before. That there was no user acceptance and user test or user acceptance, which is how we ended up with the problem in buildings. So that's why we're doing this. But at any rate, I agree. It's difficult to put this in because it's like, who does that? How do you get a user? Or who are the users? Where are they? Who's responsible? Right?
Yeah, and that helps.
That's the hard part.
That helps bolster our justification for a senior liaison role to coordinate all that. Yeah. And Brian, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I heard user acceptance. So of course my brain went to what I did do at work in terms of technological user acceptance. I think there's many platforms on our website, particularly with the ticketing system, that isn't the most user friendly. And I think maybe we could ask the county board to adopt a directive to direct the county manager's office to incorporate user acceptance testing through the appropriate parties. But I think when it comes to the disability community, our commission could potentially serve as a great source of that testing. And I'm sure all of us would be willing to spend our once a month doing that testing with staff.
We would love to. I've written test scripts. I can be very, very detail oriented. I think that's a great idea. I want to be careful to not further modify this plan because this plan is a 6-month plan. We do talk about like technology and accessibility a little bit further down in the plan, so we might be able to insert some language there that that might make sense. I probably wouldn't put it. It's not in this section. That's what my opinion is. But I think we could put a statement in there about just user acceptance testing for accessibility. Yeah.
Yeah, but I love the idea. This is Marilyn again. Sorry, I didn't raise my hand. About a draft directive for the county to review. I would be happy to help with that or help draft that with Brian, because I just think that that's where you can go back and fix the problem again. It's kind of like this. You're changing the code, you're changing the process to make a requirement for that. But again, I think that it's not going to come quick, but it's something to think about.
And also, remember, we're going to regroup pretty quickly in terms of a more strategic planning process. So it seems to me that would be very important to reference in addition to bringing it up now. But definitely, if we're talking about like a strategic plan over the next fiscal year 27 and 28, we could recommend even stages, and which kind of high priority websites or trouble ticket systems that really need to be reviewed, tested, and then just do an audit and identify what needs to be fixed. Yeah, I think it's a great idea. All right, well, thank you, Maryland, on the construction code. I did hear you say that you'd be willing to work with Bryant on the other stuff, so we'll make a note a little bit further down.
Sure,
Courtney,
absolutely.
Courtney, so 2.2, Courtney, can you scroll down just a little bit? So this is actually legislation. So this is to promote affordable and accessible housing aligned with accessible transportation options. So this does harken back to the bill that was introduced, I think, last session, and Laura actually kind of alluded to it in terms of transportation and affordable and accessible housing. And I think it's probably appropriate that it's just our two legislative leads at this point. I would probably just say it's Bryant and Laura, unless you two object.
Hey, Karen. This
Yes.
is Elizabeth. I just wanted to,
Hello.
hello. I'm sorry I'm late, but I've heard about the last 10 minutes, so that's good. I just wanted to mention, related to this priority, which I think is so important. I was at a SPRC meeting. You might have been at the same meeting, and they were talking about a very large low-income housing project that's going to be done at the Goodwill, where it was currently the Goodwill site.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked about transportation options, and because I knew that it had actually been brought up at the first meeting related to that site, and I wanted to see if there was any at the first meeting, SPRC meeting, that said that there's not very good transportation options around there. So at the second meeting, I said, has there been any follow-up on that? And they said, no, the transportation option is the art bus, and it's around the corner on such and such street, and it's really a small side street. Who knows if those side streets are even accessible, because residential streets sometimes aren't. And but the point is, they said to us, no, it's not our responsibility to request more transportation options, but there is the Futures Transportation Committee, and so you could always go to them and tell them you want better transportation there. And I just thought it was funny, because I said, I'm on the Futures Transportation Commission, and yes, they give us maps, but they're all overlaid and it's impossible to see, and I don't really know that they're taking individual sites. They're more looking at largeness. But I have recommended that places that have low-income housing, that are multifamily, should have stops around them. But they just sort of very cavalierly said, well, try somebody else. And I mean, I can't blame them. It's not their responsibility, but it just shows how recently that came up.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing that, Courtney, because it actually is 2.3. Courtney, can you scroll down just slightly? So what Elizabeth referenced is expanding our representation and site plan review commission process, so that early on, when there is the first inkling that a new project is being discussed, the DAC puts forward like a tearaway sheet of the priorities of a standardized checklist. Because that's exactly what, to me, it sounds like these various groups were just like punting and passing it over to each other. And one of the things that we've talked about for the senior ADA accessibility liaison position is that person would be in all those meetings and would say, wait a second, like, we have not discussed accessible transportation and how that's going to tie into that plan that you're talking about at a very early stage. So Elizabeth, I do have you and I as the leads for the SPRC process. And this does not preclude any other commissioner saying, hey, on this new project, I would like to represent DAC. So I'm going to have you a little bit later in the meeting talk a little bit about that meeting. I have some questions for you. But you raise a really good point, and it's also what Marilyn said, you know, when it's too late, it's too late. And this needs to be discussed, and the developer and the county need to be held accountable right at the beginning. Yeah.
And it seems like it would take a statute like is being proposed, because why would the county bring it up if there wasn't any responsibility for the county to ensure that?
Right. Yes.
Yeah, and I think within that would probably be looking at how the county, particularly the transit department, works with the planning department to adjust transit routes as new housing comes online. I know Metro, you know, they just did that, you know, that whole rework of their bus system. And that was what, 6 months ago, and they actually just did another refresh to adjust to consumer demands. So Metro is definitely, I think, a model we can build upon, but I think it might be, again, another county board directive of either changing the zoning plan, the zoning code, or any other internal, any other plan to add such language of, hey, if we're having a new housing unit come online, you know, transit staff needs to analyze that increase in population and determine if another spot would be worthy of it. Because staff is going to ping pong. Well, a lot of people are going to ping pong unless until you know, someone on leadership says this is what we need to do. So not much we can do at the current level. We'll have to work our way up.
So Brian, in 2.3 under partners, I have the Commission on Aging, the Housing Committee, developers, but you just referenced other groups. So I'd like to put that text in. So if you go to 2.3, 1, 2, 3, 4 columns over where it starts with COA for Commission on Aging, who else would you add?
The Transportation Commission.
Okay. Courtney, can you go ahead and add that in our draft, please? You should be able just to type on it.
And is there a committee on developmental disabilities? Because I thought there was, but
oh yeah, the Community Services Board.
That's right. Yeah,
they would be good to be helping to keep track and maybe be the ones to assure that these issues are thought of.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you, Courtney, for adding that. Yeah, I think it just makes it a little bit more robust. So that is goal 2. Is there a motion to accept the updates and approve the updates to goal 2?
I motion to, go ahead, Justin.
Could I also add for transportation that we look at updating safety protocols for the transit system or for our bus system? Sorry about that, Bryant.
Okay.
Yes. And that would be, so we do have partnering. Yeah, I'm looking at where it would go in this. And I think I'm wondering, Justin, if we can slightly, I think we can talk about how to slightly modify maybe goal 4. Oh no, goal 5. So if we can hold that thought till we get to goal 5, because I think it fits in goal 5, which is advancing accessible and reliable transportation.
That works.
Okay, let's do that. All right. I think you were gonna put forward the motion to approve goal 2 changes, Bryant.
Yeah. I motion to adopt the amended changes to goal 2 along with all related objectives.
Okay, and a second?
Second.
Excellent. We go to 3. So Courtney, if you can go to 3. 3 is expand county government accessibility, capacity, and resources. And 3.1 is what we've talked about, develop budget funding justification for a new county ADA liaison position. Our task is to develop the business case for the county manager and the board. Now, I know that Laura and Andrew have provided some input for me. We just have to be careful. The 3 of us technically cannot meet or be collaborating on a document at the same time. And so, you know, we will definitely try to put it forward for the fiscal year 27 budget. This stuff takes time. We're going to do the very best that we can. But it, you know, I feel like in so many of these other goals and objectives, having that senior level liaison to cut across different staff divisions and coordinate the work with the commissions and the committees, there's just so much work. So any other comments on 3.1? All right, let's go to 3.2 is expand public access to disability service resources and services information. And this does go to what Justin referenced in terms of increasing awareness. And then and Andrew and I had talked about this. And Andrew, I don't know if you wanted to say anything more about that.
I don't think I have anything major to add at the moment.
Okay. And then I've listed Andrew and Justin as the leads. And then 3 points. Go ahead.
Have we put Andrew or Justin in touch with Catalina? Because she's developing that resource guide for aging and seniors. So maybe I don't know if this premature, but she's working on a resource guide, and so it seems like they would have a lot in common.
I think that's a really good idea. I don't recommend updating it in the work plan, but I'm putting it in my notes. And
Okay.
for Justin and Andrew, Catalina Calicon is the chair of the Transportation Committee, which is part of the Commission on Aging. And they have a very outdated transportation guide for seniors that they are in the process of updating. And it's a pretty comprehensive resource. So it also is probably going to be something that your input would be valued. And then you would want to promote it on our website, also on the DAC website. So I wrote myself a note to make sure that you are in contact with her. We just can't have more than 2 of us deliberating about this at once, but I can share that. That's a great idea, Elizabeth. Thank you. I need to put a yellow highlight on it in my notes. Okay, and then 3.3 is advocating for statewide digital accessibility legislation. And many thanks to Laura, because Laura identified that HB 2541 had been approved, which is around accessibility, and I had not included it. And these are bills that are looking at public information technology on state and local government websites, resources, forms, but it's also looking at Title III entities that the public uses. So I think there's just so much work to be done, and it is something that we definitely want to track. So Laura, I don't know what else you'd like to add to that.
Well, I know you are tracking some other pieces of legislation around that. I am at ECNV separately. We are doing a usability testing initiative that was funded by the Department for the Blind and Vision Impaired. So we can't review all of the state's websites, but I think we can do about 100. And so we're trying to pick out some of the state, the websites with the most sort of interactive elements, forms and applications and stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but thank you, because I think I had listed something that actually something else had passed. So obviously we're all going to be monitoring it,
right,
during this session and beyond. So many, many thanks. I know that Justin also has a keen interest in this area. So I listed the leads as Laura, Bryant, and Justin. And I think it's just going to be tied up with the legislative monitoring and advocacy at this point. Okay. Any other comments on goal 3? So goal 3, expand county government accessibility, capacity, and resources. Is there a motion to approve goal 3 set and then the objectives under goal 3?
Motion to approve goal 3.
Second.
Excellent, thank you. And then we go to goal 4, which is promoting pedestrian safety and accessibility. And objective 1 is to increase community awareness of pedestrian safety and accessibility issues. And this is DAC participating in the community engagement event with the Commission on Aging, Transportation Subcommittee, and the Vision Zero team. So that is the work that Elizabeth and I are attending those meetings, and other commissioners are welcome to attend. Elizabeth, is there a planning meeting coming up? I think so.
I will look.
I believe that Catalina talked about the planning meeting for it.
Oh yeah, she's gonna send the info to us, but I don't think we've seen it yet.
I had thought that DAC could be a co-sponsor of the event. This is very much the Commission on Aging's event. So I hope we get a shout out for assisting, but I did not detect from the vice chair's interest in us co-sponsoring this in any way. This is, they've done this event year after year. I think they welcome our participation and support. But I did not get vibes around us being a co-sponsor. So I did go in and make a tweak to the work plan, just saying that we were participating in it. Elizabeth, did you have anything to add to that?
I was just looking to see if we had the date for the next meeting, but I don't see it right here. I think she
Yeah,
said
I don't think we have it right. I don't think they've, I think after the first of the year, they're going to be planning it in earnest.
yeah.
And then objective 4.2 is to increase resident awareness on how to report concerns and advocate for improved sidewalk and curb cuts. And then that is just, the task is to develop and distribute clear guidance on how to report uneven services, missing curb cuts, and access barriers.
Oh,
I really strongly on this issue, but I'd love a partner.
Karen?
Yes, Justin, go ahead.
We need someone to take the lead on that.
Yes.
Would it be okay if I could take the lead on that?
I would love that. And
Yeah,
Elizabeth is also, Elizabeth's also interested.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was saying that I was also interested, but I would need
We've ran into a lot of issues in the past with accessibility to sidewalks in Arlington, so this would kind of actually help. This would actually help continue some of the work we've done in the past by getting more input from the city. Correct me if I'm right or wrong, Elizabeth.
right, and I think just help people know where to report and be able to have some follow up that you could question about, what's happening with the reports, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
All right, Marilyn, what's your input?
Well, of course, having had the recent experience on with the library and then with the farmers market and stuff, I really, I'm not sure how much I want to get involved in this other than because I know that Elizabeth has even helped me understand that I didn't know certain things that I could just, the terrible sidewalks near where I live up and that are terrible. And she said, well, just call this number or whatever. I think getting this, I would like to participate, I think, at some level, although three of us can't be on at the same time.
Yeah.
Just based on my own experience.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll list all three of you. Yes.
Yeah.
So Courtney, if you can make that change. Yeah.
Because Karen, one of the things that you had mentioned, I guess to me, was that if we do any kind of a Google Doc, where it tells you at the top of the Google Doc if anybody else is working on it at that time. So
that's correct.
Working to identify problems, and then just make sure that the Google Doc has one or two people that it's putting information.
I agree. Justin, I think you've got background noise. If you can mute yourself. I'm listing all three. And I'm listing all three. And just like Elizabeth said, like if, two of you want to meet, and do a phone meeting or like a Zoom meeting or something, great. Or if you're working on the document, you see two other people are in it. If you're doing some sort of brainstorm, just make sure that you don't have two people in the document. And if it is really a pressing and compelling issue and the three of you need to meet, just reach out to me and we can make sure that we set it up as a public meeting and work with Courtney. But if it's working and brainstorming, I think you can work with that. Okay. That's 4. Okay. So thank you, Courtney. You made those changes. So is there a motion to approve the edits made to Goal 4, promote pedestrian safety and accessibility, and then the objectives?
I motion to adopt Goal 4 along with the amended objectives.
And a second?
Second.
I second.
Excellent. This is so exciting. Courtney, if you can go to goal 5. Thank you. So this is advancing accessible and reliable transportation. And let's remember Justin's thought and see if we can find a place in the objectives. So the first objective is to advocate to link transportation planning to accessible and affordable housing. And the task is,
and we just talked about above. I have a bad memory, but
yes, they're very much linked, and it's because we've got a goal under transportation and a goal under universal design and accessible housing, so that it is pretty redundant.
Oh, okay, I get it. Thanks.
Yeah, it's so that we've got objectives under each one. And this is to collaborate with partners to prioritize bus routes and sidewalk connections, serving accessible housing sites. So Justin, I think what you were sharing was around this. So what would you like to see edited or added?
Yeah, personally, I ride public transportation to get around. I personally hate it. I'm openly admitting that because it literally is flawed. I think we have a lot more to improve on with the ART bus system because there's been multiple count of systemic ableism within our own transit system in Arlington. So I would personally like to improve services and improve the overall quality. There's also the other matters of us being severely behind Metro, which is embarrassing as a county. Like we should not be behind Metro when it comes down to the ART bus system. It's not working the way it should. Ramps not working. So I would like to actually, I would like to take part in improving that. If anyone's, or I want to know everyone's thoughts on that, if possible.
So I'm wondering if we want to think about somewhat modifying or adding a general objective. We have a couple of choices. We could take objective 5.1 or 5.2 and edit it, or we could add a more general objective. So let's hear some thoughts around that.
I would personally amend objective 5.2 to monitor STAR audit along with ART transit performance.
I like that. Say that again. Monitor STAR audit.
So monitor county response to STAR audit, along with general oversight of ART performance.
That works.
Yeah.
And then for task, I would do review implementation of STAR. Yeah, keep that. And then for art transit, monitor art transit performance. I guess a question for Courtney. Justin, could you mute yourself? Sorry, your background noise.
Sorry, that's my heater.
All good. Courtney, if a writer submitted a transit related complaint saying that they're not providing appropriate accessibility, would that go through the office you work for?
So that actually goes to transit. They have a specific person who addresses complaints and discrimination. I forgot their official title, but we did work alongside with that individual. But I forgot the official title, so you're correct.
Okay. Yeah, so I guess a task could be, requesting that the transit division provides us with the log of complaints and how they respond to those complaints. I know we have there's been general concerns with the county's trans dev contract for Art Bus itself. So I've been just keeping it generic to monitoring art transit performance. Would give us enough flexibility to address all the issues Justin has mentioned.
And what about monitor art transit performance and recommend remedies?
Oh, yeah, that could work.
Yeah. So Courtney, let's see, do you have it? So monitor STAR service. So it was monitor county response to STAR audit along with art transit service.
Where's this at again?
5.2.
Right over here.
Yes. So monitor county response to STAR audit along with STAR transit service.
Monitor county response to STAR
audit along with art transit service.
And then get rid of access this piece, right?
Yeah, that's correct. And then if you go to the third column, it's review implementation of STAR audit findings, period. And then a new sentence. Monitor art performance and recommend remedies. And Justin, you said you wanted to take the lead.
Yes. If anyone I would like to do that. If anyone would else like to join me, that would be great as well.
Well, we just need one to start. And then what about the lead for advocating linking transportation planning to accessible and affordable housing?
I can do that.
Excellent. And you can recruit somebody else to be your partner, which is always better. Okay. So any other feedback on goal 5? So is there a motion for the amendments to goal 5 and the objectives that were put forward by commissioners?
A motion to adopt goal 5 as amended along with the amended objectives.
And a second?
Second.
Excellent. Yay! We have a work plan. Thank you, everybody. I'll work with Courtney to get this cleaned up and finalized, and we'll send it out, but then it'll obviously go up on our Google, it'll go up on our Google Drive. Elizabeth, go ahead.
This last one, my last name is spelled, I want to spell it correctly. On down where it says working groups.
Yes.
It's in two places. On the second bulletin, it's Marilyn and Elizabeth.
Yes.
And it's spelled Priaulx. And then the one above it, yeah, Priaulx. For anyone who's wondering, that's pronounced Prio. Thanks.
And I've been spelling it wrong for a very long time, so I apologize.
No, you haven't.
I think I actually have. Okay, excellent. So I will work with Courtney to get this cleaned up, and we will share it with JD. And then obviously when Bryant and I meet with him in January. My other thought, the other information I forgot to relay was I am going to be meeting with JD about every six weeks. So I intend to offer the opportunity to every commissioner to come to one of those meetings with me. So Bryant's going to attend this meeting. Justin had asked if he could attend the next meeting, which is not scheduled yet. But I would like to cycle through and never attend those meetings myself, because two of us were not a meeting. So I think there's strength in numbers, and then it's a really great opportunity for all of you as commissioners to have more kind of direct interaction with JD. So I'll be reaching out, but I'm pretty much scheduling the meetings one at a time because he's really, really busy. Okay, so our next order of business is to talk about the grants process. And I'm not going into great detail. You all have the applications, and Courtney, if you could please put up that matrix, the scoring, I'm calling it a scoring rubric. If you could put that up, please. And so Courtney has shared the individual scoring sheets and I put together the scoring rubric to assist us in having some consistency if we believe that a proposal is an excellent or an adequate or a good or a weak, so that there's a little bit less of an arbitrary sense in doing it. And I think you probably have to make that just a little bit bigger. And obviously there are 4 sections for scoring, and they add up to 100 points. And I actually did, want to recommend that for any proposal, when we come together and we review all the scores in January, that any proposal that is put forward for approval should hit just a minimum floor score, that they have their scores are either at the adequate or good level. So when I sent out the sheet, I highlighted those sections. And so that total point value is a 64, because we've got more proposals than obviously we're going to be able to fund. And we do need to practice due diligence and put forward our recommendations to the board for proposals that did hit at least an adequate or a good marker. So that was really my purpose of putting that together. And so I'm going to stop and see if there's any questions that have arisen as you are reviewing these proposals. I'm not asking you to reveal your scores. So while you're thinking about that, Courtney, can you remind us what comes next? Because I've asked commissioners to submit to you and to me their individual scoring sheets by December 20th. Because my understanding is we will come back and meet in January, but you and I will meet and talk about the scores and look at a composite of the scores so that those applications can be rated so that we can look at them based on the ratings. So what do you have to add for that?
So generally in the past, one meeting is dedicated for DAC commissioners to review, provide scores, and then also vote on the recommendations. And then once the recommendations have been established, then either you can draft the letter or I'm happy to do so. This is going to JD Span with the commissioner's recommendations on who and what gets funded. So the next meeting should be about.
It'll be in January, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So we have $111,000 for each fiscal year 27 and 28. Obviously, we're not going to be able to fund every application that's put forward. And I'm suggesting that we don't put an application forward if they don't hit a minimum floor score of an adequate or good, which comes out to be about a 64. So are there any other questions in terms of scoring?
Other than Courtney, I will have those scores to you on the 20th. I did not realize that deadline was coming up.
I didn't either. I'm good, but I'm good, and I've done a first draft, but of all the scoring, but I didn't know the 20th.
I guess my question to Courtney is, Courtney, how much time do you need, or do you and I need to kind of huddle and compile everything? I mean, I'm okay saying to commissioners, you have a few more days, but Courtney, how much time in your experience do we need to kind of take everybody's scoring sheets and make sense out of it?
So generally in the past, they would just send their score sheets, but really what the main thing was at the meeting, what was voted on in terms of what agency was being funded and the amount. And then from there, that would be inputted to a letter. So that was usually done at that one particular meeting,
January meeting,
because that has to be turned in by January 31st to our liaison.
So, how about December 24th?
Oh my.
Does that sound better?
Yeah.
Well, I can send mine in now, but I feel like I need to go do another review. So it's daunting to read all that. So
it's very daunting. And thank you all in advance. It's a lot of information. And yes, I'm going to hold my comments.
I know.
Some proposals, in my humble opinion, are easier to read than others. I'll just leave it at that.
I agree.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I want to leave it at that.
Yeah.
So let's leave it as December 24th. Courtney, if you can just send out a reminder, a couple days before. And I just want to make sure that Courtney and I have enough time to look at them and do that. Okay.
I guess clarification, when you say look at them after, you mean the scores before the January meeting, or?
We're going to have to tally them, right? And look at how, people aren't going to change their scores during the meeting. They will have submitted the scores, and we're going to be able to say we had 5 commissioners score each of the proposals. The range of scores was, and the average is, and here's the ranking of all of those proposals.
Okay, I see the way that you're doing it. Usually that's done in the meeting where people would just come and say, well, this one I gave, and then that's when the discussion. But I get it. You want to have it before.
I would actually prefer that it's submitted, and then we can have that discussion and just talk about strengths of the proposals and maybe some challenges or information that didn't appear to be complete. Because we truly, if we have 9 proposals and we have 6 that we decide at least meet a minimum score, then we'll have to really spend a fair amount of time at that meeting saying, you know, we have 6 proposals that we think are good or adequate. And if we give money to all 6, we're going to have a really robust discussion. Or do we decide that we're only going to fund the top 5? So I think that's going to take a lot of our meeting. So I would prefer to come to the meeting with the scores. Go ahead, Bryant.
Yeah, so that just reminded me, so the last meeting with the DAC, we had our voting exercise. And within that, so the way we have our fund set up, we have it in categories. So economic development, immigration support, youth, and then I think like a general community health bucket. And that, so we had a set amount of votes, and I can email the liaison for that to see if she'd be willing to give me the logic behind that. So, like, for example, for one funding bucket, we had, I think this is how it worked, but don't hold me to this, but like for one bucket, we had 7 applications that qualified under this bucket, and we had 7 votes, and we applied those votes to each of the applicants. And then we had another bucket based upon the target population, so low income, medium income. And then we did another set of voting. I'm not sure how it will look like at the January 7th meeting. I unfortunately won't be able to attend that due to another meeting organization that requires an in-person vote that night. But I can certainly follow up to see how that goes. So, but I think could be a potential tool for us to use if we get into that environment where we have to make those decisions.
And I would appreciate learning more. I read the guide that you shared, and I didn't see that. So I think we just want to, that's why I really would like Courtney and I to take a look at the scores and have the ranking already done before the meeting, because we're really not going to have time. Marilyn, go ahead.
Sorry, I need to go back on the guidance, you know, because what I did is I'm done, at least my first draft, without going back and looking. And I gave the scores, but I did it based on the writing criteria without the guidance about they have to be the adequate, good, strong, you know, through those 4 categories.
That's okay. That's okay.
So what I just want to make sure I don't need to go back and rethink all of that, because I'm not sure I could do it.
No, I don't think you do. I just was trying to put some rationality into the rubric, saying if the maximum point value for this section is 5 points, a 5 is going to be an excellent, a 3 is going to be an adequate or good, and a 1 is going to be a weak, so that we didn't say, I think I'll give it a 4, or I think I'll give it a 2. And so there was a little bit more consistency. And my thinking is, if each of the 4 sections, you know, you're scoring, it totals up to 64 points, then that is the average for that proposal to at least be a good or an adequate. And if it falls under 64 points total, it's a weak proposal. And so I think it's just going to be a scale for us to consider when we see how many proposals, you know, we think at least meet a good or an adequate. So, because I, in my opinion, rating them, I just saw a whole range, and I don't want to share anything. So I gave some suggestions for each section, but they are not hard and fast. So if you hit an 18 out of 30 for the first section, it meant your scores were in the adequate range, right? If you hit on the one that followed, mostly 5s that were good, which was a 30 out of 45, then the proposal was good. And so, but again, I don't think it's a hard and fast that each of the 4 sections has to hit these targets. What I was looking at was the overall.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, if you hit a 64 overall, then that project's in the range of being either good or adequate, that proposal. Yeah. So I am very aware of the time. We do have other business. We have happily talked a lot about some of our other committees and work groups. So I'm fine if we look at you submitting those sheets the 24th. If you absolutely need some more time, please let me and Courtney know, but we'll need some time ourselves to take all the sheets and put them together so that they're prepared for the meeting, because I think we're going to need a good amount of time in January just to discuss the scores and then the funding levels. Yeah. So any other questions on the grant proposals? Excellent. So I was looking at all the liaison reports, and we've really talked about everything. Going to the Long Range Planning Commission, Elizabeth attended a meeting, and I am on deck for a 3-hour meeting, I think on the 18th for another project. I don't have it in front of me. And Elizabeth, you shared a little bit, but is there anything else you want to share about that meeting that you attended?
I used your your little intro that you had developed for us, and that was a way of saying, we're with the Disability Advisory Commission, and we're here to ensure accessibility is considered in these meetings. So that was okay. I had to use the short version because they pretty much just had others saying their names. But I know we had discussed doing that because so often we're in SPRC meetings with the environmental groups, and they're very, very organized. So I know you wanted me to test that out. I don't know if others have also tried and had experience with that. But I basically said the main thing, which was that, when I asked about transportation, because it was near low income housing, that, there's not a system to consider that through them and maybe through the county. So, and the other thing I asked was, what has been done to ensure accessibility within the building. And they said, we haven't considered internally. And I said, what will ensure that there's accessibility, the entrance and plantings and things stay accessible. And they said, well, we did have people review for accessibility. So, so that's my report.
So much work to be done. Wow. Elizabeth, to your point, I'm going to try to use like the talking points about, I'm Karen Odont, I chair the DAC, and this is, this is our charter and mission, and we're here to ensure accessibility, interior, exterior, pedestrian access, transportation. I think whoever is going to these meetings, we're just trying it out. And I think that's what it is. My experience in those meetings is there's like 25 stakeholder groups, and they really just want you to like introduce yourself and say one line. But I think anything we can do to get a plug in is really, really important. So thank you. Our last item of business is to talk about our schedule of meetings for 2026. And so if you could put that up, Courtney. I want to, and if we don't approve the whole schedule tonight, at least we establish a couple of the meetings. I think that's fine too. And while she's pulling it up, Bryant and I are going to meet with JD on the 7th of January. If you have any agenda items for us, please share them with me, and I will make sure that they're put on that agenda. Courtney, if you could make it a little bit bigger, please. Excellent, thank you. I would like to propose that for January, we meet January 12th instead of the 19th because of the federal Martin Luther King holiday. And also, if we are able to have delegates Hope and McClure attend at least some of our meeting, that timing might work. I know that we've got to talk about grant proposals also, and that's why I'm very interested in having the scoring and the ranking done ahead of time.
Can I say something?
Yes, please.
Yeah, the 12th may actually work quite well for us because that may give us the ability to work or talk to Delegate McClure and Delegate Hope during a time where they're not under a lot of stress due to the full-on session.
Mm-hmm.
Let me reach out to Delegate. If the commission approves of this, I would not mind reaching out to Delegate Hope and Delegate McClure about the possibilities of meeting with them on the 12th.
So Justin, I actually have to go through Carol to do that. So
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. I had actually checked with Courtney, and I need to schedule. I need to have Carol help schedule that. JD's scheduler. Go ahead, Bryant. You had your hand up.
Oh.
I think they haven't released the session calendar yet, but that is inauguration week. So, and I think sessions start that Tuesday. So just something to keep in mind.
Yeah, so it may not work. Yeah. I mean, the problem is if we don't meet the 19th and we don't meet the 12th, we meet the 26th, and that is really tight for purposes of the grant application. So I would like to do that meeting and then hope for the best with those delegates. Yeah.
Yeah. Agreed.
And yeah. And then it's the same recommended change in February because of President's Day, and that would give us a meeting 4 weeks after the January meeting. Marilyn, go ahead.
I will not be able to attend the 9th of February, just FYI.
Okay. But
okay.
I know that you'll provide any input that you need to.
Of course. Of course.
And then one of the things that we have talked about was having an extended planning session up to 3 hours and doing it in March. And I'd like to recommend that we do it on March 9th because the 16th is the day of the Commission on Aging, the community engagement event. And I know that at least Elizabeth and I will be involved in that. And we do not have to figure out all the details on the extended planning event. Courtney was going to see what our options were in some of the spaces that we've been in. And then I would be open to bringing in food or making sure that that's a long meeting. So making sure that we'd take a break. We do some committee business quickly, we take a break, and then we would jump into strategic planning, but we would take a very robust 20 to 30 minute break so that people either stepped away from the screen or they stepped away from the actual meeting, because that's a long meeting. And of course, it would be a hybrid meeting. And then I'm going to be away in April. The meetings that follow, those meetings are the regular DAC first Mondays. So there's not there's not anything different about those dates. And then I know it's hard to imagine, Courtney, if you scroll down to December next year, I suggested we just moved the December meeting forward, because otherwise next year it's going to be December 21st, which is really, really late. Yeah. So Courtney, what have we done in the past to select, like to put forward our calendar?
Are you talking about public notice?
Yeah.
So once the dates are confirmed, then I'll just, as we go along, just create the notices on the county website.
And then do we have to post the whole year?
No, they at least wanted, I believe, us to post at least 7 to 3 business days before the meeting occurs.
Oh, okay. So that's going to be easy. Because I really haven't given folks a long time to think about this. So what I'm thinking is if we could just vote to change January's meeting to the 12th, if we could have a motion to vote on that and then a second to approve it, and then we really can consider the rest of the schedule like at a later date. So do we have a, go ahead.
But I motion to change the Disability Advisory Commission's January 19th meeting to January 12th, 2026 at its regularly scheduled time at 7 p.m. and direct staff to make appropriate changes as necessary.
And a second?
A second.
Excellent, thank you. We did have a suggestion, and we probably will pick it up at our next meeting due to time. We did have a suggestion from Justin to consider extending our meeting time since we've had a lot of business recently. And I would like to suggest we pick that up in January, because we're already talking about an extended meeting in March, and we can talk about that in January. I really thank you for your patience tonight. We accomplished a lot. We now have a work plan. We have kind of a rough schedule, so I very much appreciate it. I had written out a couple of next steps. So Laura had agreed to share with me and Courtney the ECNV legislative agenda. Justin had agreed to share briefing materials from the ARC, and then I was going to share what the Commission on Aging, their legislative working group, had put forward. And then I will work with Courtney to finalize that work plan. And then I will set up the Google Drive, and that will be shared before our January 7th meeting.
And the Google Drive is for what again?
It's for draft commission work and then final versions. And then Courtney, do we publish our work plan on the website? Because I did not see other commissions publish work plans.
Right. I've not had a commission. We haven't published it on the website, but if you would like, we can, but normally.
I think what I probably would recommend is we just have a brief statement and say our work plan for fiscal year 26 focuses on, and we just list the 5 goals. Like that's probably, and I'm happy to do that. I'll just
if you could,
yeah,
just send me the draft and I can put it up on the website.
Yeah, I think that would be fine. And then the action item for all of you, if you can submit those forms by December 24th, if you have a need that arises, just reach out to me and Courtney. And I'm trying to think, what else have I forgotten? Help me out. Oh, agenda items for JD. So if you have any agenda items for the meeting that Bryant and I are going to attend with JD, that is on the 7th. So please be sure to send that. Any other items of business that we haven't covered? I just want to thank all of you. I think we've done a lot since June. So I'm really grateful for everyone on this commission. You all stepped up and said, yes, I'm happy to do this or happy to lead it. So it's such a pleasure. And thank you for putting your trust in me. It's a real honor.
Thank
Thanks,
you, Karen, for
Thank you.
leading us.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's been
Okay.
a lot of fun. So I just wish you all, happy holidays and
Yep.
happy New Year. And I'm really looking forward to 2026 together.
See you next
Great.
year.
Same to you. Same to you.
And
Okay.
with that, do we have a motion to
Oh, yeah.
adjourn our meeting?
Yeah. I move that we adjourn.
Second.
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 Excellent.
Yay.
Now we can adjourn. Thank you so
Okay.
much, everybody.